Alright everybody, so welcome back to another episode of Colton Posey Fishing. Today we're going to be talking about my top 3 finesse baits for November, so stay tuned. This is something you don't want to miss. Alright everybody, so if you're new to the channel, make sure to like, subscribe. It helps me out a whole lot, especially if the content helps you. I got you covered when it comes to anything bass fishing. As always, if you have any questions, drop a comment down below or something you want to add, or maybe you just want to talk fishing. I love hearing from you guys. Also, I want to talk about my sponsors that help and make all this stuff possible, and it just helps me a ton, including you guys. Thunderhawk Lures, Salty Captain, all their stuff is linked down in the description. You can click the link, it'll take you straight to their website so you can check out their stuff. I've got codes down there. It'll give you up to 20% off on your entire purchase, save you a little bit of money. It helps me out a whole lot. Appreciate it if you check those guys out. So the first bait I want to talk about, we're going to talk about a minnow style bait, okay? So you know, I use several different heads, but I'm typically still going to be using that dart head, or either you know, like a Yum Sonar minnow, a Damiki head, something like that. But what I like to do with this, I like taking this Z-Man Finesse shads, okay? And I typically, you know, once that turnover starts happening this month, or maybe it's already happened, depending on where you're at, whether you're in the process or, you know, maybe it's already happened, the water's going to clear back up, okay? And the clearest water is going to be in the dead of winter. Okay, so you know that water's really going to start clearing back up, or either, you know, we hadn't had rains a whole lot, so you know most of the time the lake is already clear to begin with. So you know we don't really have that issue of stained water, and if you do find stained water, the fish are typically super easy to catch. You can basically throw anything you want to at them. But this finesse shads here, this is, you know, it's got the Z-Man Elastic, but it's clear with that ghost color. I think it's called gray ghost, as a matter of fact. Smelt. It's called smelt. But you know, either way, it's kind of got, you know, that hook keeper and stuff in the middle where, you know, you could slide a hook if you want to. You can rig it multiple different ways, but I like rigging it on that dart head, and I'm able to throw that bait out there and keep it stabilized and with minimal movement. Because this bait's made out of Elastic, it gets a little bit of action on it. It'll also kind of roll a little bit. It just has it doesn't have a ton of action, but it doesn't have, you know, it's still subtle, if that makes sense. But either way, you know, a lot of times if you're having to fish the main lake, maybe there's a big tournament or something, most people are in the creeks, whatever the case may be, or maybe you just like fishing the main lake. You know, a lot of those fish are very, very pressured. So, you know, downsizing, using baits like this, I've had this pack probably a year and a half. I mean, that's one good thing about Z-Man. They're very, very tough to tear up. But throwing that dart head out there, and I'm not darting this bait, okay? So, you know, I'm not doing that burn, pause, burn, pause. These water temperatures are dropping, okay? Some lakes that I go to and rivers that I go to, the water temperature is already in the low 60s, like 63, 64 at the peak of the day, okay? And then some areas, some of the lakes like I'm on today, the water temperature is between 73 and 74, just kind of bounces back and forth, and that's from the main to the backs of the creek, so there's not a whole lot of difference in the temperature of the water. On that dart head, I'll throw that bait out there with that Z-Man Finesse shad on there, and I'm just going to kind of slow reel it. And I hate saying that word, I hate slow. I hate having to fish slow, but you're going to have to start slowing down this time of year. It's one of the challenges that I go through as a power fisherman. But you know, you're going to have to kind of slow down, just kind of crawl the bait, and every now and again I'll kind of just shake my wrist barely as I reel that bait, and a lot of times those fish will get it and load up on it, and you know, you're good to go. But my setup is that Powell mistake rod that y'all have heard me talk about. This is a 6'10" light extra fast action rod, great for dart heading, drop shot and stuff like that. You know, you want the action's more important than anything, but I'm running 10-pound braided line to 8-pound fluorocarbon. The next bait that I want to talk about is an underspin. Now I'm out of the Fish Head Co's. This is just a different underspin that I've had for a long time, but either way, same concept. I've got some coming in the mail, but the Fish Head Co underspins, in my opinion, are one of the best that I've found personally. They don't burn out a lot, which is great, but this time of year you're going to be slowing that underspin down, and you're going to be doing something a little bit different, which is using a Damiki Armor Shad. The Damiki Armor Shad, I really like putting this Damiki Armor Shad on the underspin. Remember, this time of year you can have too much action in a bait, okay? Especially when those water temperatures start to drop below 65 degrees, okay? So, you know, something a little bit more subtle like this Damiki Armor Shad. This one's missing part of its tail. But you know, either way, that Damiki Armor Shad, it's a stiff bait. It really is. It's a stiff bait. But as this comes through the water, that tail's doing what it's doing right now. It's just kind of kicking, okay? But it's not, you know, that wide wobble like where it looks like this, kind of going through the water like on a chatterbait or something like that. I'm not saying these on the back of a chatterbait, but just giving you an example. But you know, on that underspin, I'm throwing it out there and I'm kind of crawling that bait. I'm just kind of, I'm not at that slow cadence like wintertime cadence, but I'm kind of just moving it along, and you'll kind of figure out the right cadence for your lake or river system. But just remember, this time of year, start slowing down little by little. Push the limit, see how much you can get away with as far as speed wise, because you still need to cover tons of water to bump into active fish. But you know, start slowing down a little bit. And I got to talk about this one, and y'all may get tired of hearing me talk about it, but it works. It just simply works. But I'm doing something a little bit different this time. This is the 3-inch Mayor, not sponsored by Rapala. It's just, these work. I've got some different swim baits on order. I'll let you know exactly how I like those guys. They're a little more affordable than these. You get a lot more out of them. I'm hoping they're tougher. That's the main thing. But either way, I'm putting it on that 4x4 little jig head. And one of the reasons that I do that, that little finesse hook, that little 2/0 finesse hook right there, it matches this bait perfectly, and your hang up ratio is going to go through the roof. Okay, you're going to catch a lot more fish, especially if you're on spotted bass fisheries. But you know, I'm slowing that bait down. But you know, the main thing is, you'll notice throughout November you're going to have to get slower and slower and slower and slower. And as I'm getting to that point where that 3/8 ounce is just sinking too fast and I can't reel it slow enough, swap to the 1/4 ounce. Okay, this is the Baby Squadron Head by Strike King. So you know, once that 3/8 gets to the point where it's just moving too slow and it's sinking too fast and the fish are just not getting it, then I'm going to work on getting that 1/4 ounce swim bait head, and that will allow me to do the same thing. I can slow down and keep that bait in that higher depth range. Now if the fish move lower, maybe a strong cold front comes through and the fish that are on the main lake, they're going to go down deeper. As they do that, go back to the 3/8 ounce. That way you can keep that bait slow and get that bait down there to them and keep it in the strike zone longer. You'll get a lot more bites. But if they stay close to the surface, then boom, you know, that 1/4 ounce Squadron Head is going to be great. But either way, guys, that's my top 3 finesse baits for November. So you know, if the video helps you at all, make sure to like, subscribe. It helps me out a whole lot. Like I always say, comment down below if you have any questions, anything to add. Let us know what's going on in your lake. It helps us all save time as anglers. That's what this community is built around, and learning about fishing. So either way, make sure to check everything out in the description. Colton Posey Fishing merchandise store is now open if you want to get you some cool duds. Check that stuff out. $25 shipped to your door. Super affordable. But either way, guys, I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time.